Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My practice of harmony is an old story I've been sharing for the, the last 10 some years. So please allow me to repeat how I practice harmony. Uh, this is the year of 2002. Um, it's into my second year of heart time practice. And at that time, there was no English translation. Everything was directly from Sifu, and the main theme was the four phrases: purification, um, wisdom, harmony, and enlightenment. And Sifu's first 20 years was basically those four practices. So it was in Chinese, and to me, the first one, purification, mind, body, and spirit. And I said to myself, after a 2 year dab into the heart time practice, I don't think, I ever achieved purification. So then I said to myself, without purification, I probably is not going to get any wisdom. And no wisdom, I probably won't be able to, practice for fulfillment or harmony. And then, of course, enlightenment is even further away. So I said to myself, fulfillment is not hard because the Chinese original words yuan man. Yuan means perfect, and man means satisfy, meaning perfectly satisfy. In other words, perfectly satisfy everything. My family, my kids, my colleagues, and in a bigger scale, perfectly satisfy the society's demand, the nation's demand. So to me, that was a personal, action item I can easily do. And so that's why, when we beginning to translate this into English, our English translation team actually been debated whether we should use perfectly satisfying, which is fulfillment, or harmony. In our opinion, harmony is on a grander scale. It's much more elusive to understand for our people at that time. And fulfillment is more individual. It's on a smaller scale. It's a lot easier to do. It's a practice that can be reminded easily that did you deliver whatever responsibility you have? Did you perfectly satisfy everyone around you? So I began to practice fulfillment and on my wife. So whatever she cooks, and I say delicious. Whatever she want me to do, I do it immediately, and to practice fulfillment. It was a brute force without meditation kind of a practice. It was just a brute force of practice. There's no theory behind it. It was just a whatever she wants, I'll deliver. And of course, and she is a health nut, and everything she cooks have low salt and low oil and low taste. I'm from Shanghai, and everything is greasy and soy sauce and sugar. And so to me, that was hard. Then it's hard for me to say it's delicious. But it probably took me 6 months. And then I actually find there's actually sweetness in the vegetables, and some of the meat are actually feel death and in the meat, and beginning to change my taste. And then so that was interesting, and because of that, she began to cook a lot more Chinese food because I keep on praising her that everything she cooked was So nice. And then, after that episode was over, and then I started to say, whatever she wants me to do, I'll do it immediately. And, see, she's from a military family, very disciplined. If I'm a minute late, 6 o'clock dinner, if I serve dinner at 6:01, she'll chew me up real bad. So from the second practice of whatever she wants me to do, I do it immediately, meaning at the end of championship basketball game, or at the end of toward the end of a detective movie, before we find out who really the killer is, I discovered that I was really, really attached to all these stuff. And it's very difficult for me to just shut down my TV or shut down my computer, my browser, and just do whatever she wants me to do at that moment. I discover I'm just so attached to all the forms. And that's a revelation to me. I didn't know that, I was so hung up on football games, basketball games. I'm a sport nut, And in addition, I have all kind of hobbies, If you can name it, I have hobbies for it. And all these hobbies is so mesmerizing, it's so charming. It's hard to, in the middle of something that I enjoy, and then get up and do something because somebody told me to. But you know what I discovered after 2 years? Because I forced myself to do that, then I realized how attached I am. And after attached that I am, then I'd be able to get to reverse course. And I discover I'm liberated. I have no more attachment. I can watch anything and shut down anytime. I can do whatever she wants me to do. So of course, from she cook, and then becomes I cook. And then from she vacuum, then becomes I vacuum. Then she does the dishes, and then because usually at the beginning was, I cook and she does dishes. Then becomes I cook and I do the dishes because she has to work. So I end up doing more chores, and in my lifetime, I never do any chores, house chores. It was always the wife, okay? And very old-fashioned Chinese, gentleman. But doing the chores made me realizing there is a certain sense of accomplishment doing the chores. And even, dump the garbage can from the small garbage can inside the house to the bigger garbage can outside the house. So we basically become one, and instead of two, So I realized this harmony is really caused by a conflict, and any conflict requires two persons. And if I get rid of myself, and if there's only her, then there's no this harmony. Everything is her way. And of course, I shared this story not only in the United States. When I returned to Taiwan, I shared with hundreds and hundreds of people. And at the end of the sharing, I usually surrounded by a lot of ladies. And they always tell me, I wish my husband would do that too. But the answer is really not you wish your husband would do that too. The answer is really you do it yourself. In other words, the hard time practice is to get rid of our ego, get rid of attachment to forms, and change our mindset. That is the purpose of the sharing. Not try to set an example. I'm the ideal husband. I do everything to my wife. And so this brute force harmony give me a realization that I learned that it's really just an ego thing. You know, if you have no more ego, you won't have any problems at all. And you know what happened? Oh, well, also, there's other inquiries. Then you have no character. Then you have no position. Then you're going to spoil your wife. What you going to do about it? See, do I really need a position? Do I need to have a character? Because any position or any character is a limited definition of an ego, a limited position of the small mind. Once we reach the bigger, that's what I learned. Once we are all, we are with everyone. We can be anyone at any time. That's our position. Our position is all position, not just a particular position or two particular positions. That's why perspective is all about, you know. And we don't need any perspective. We need to have all perspective. Once you have all perspective and accepted, agreed, and truly understood all the perspectives, then you will not have your own perspective. Then you don't need a position. You don't need to have a character. You don't need to be somebody. You can be anybody. Then the next challenge is, I mean, you're going to spoil her, right? True. And she was spoiled for a while. Okay? Her demands becomes more and more because I'm so gullible and everything you do. Oh, okay, no problem, I do. Don't take out the trash, I do. Shampoo the floor, I do. Vacuum, wash the sink. The sink needs to be washed, you know, even though it's kind of clean, but anyway. But guess what? Her demands becomes less and less. Used to have a big long list and then become less. And then because the meditation practice of heart sign, she began to become more forgetful. See, she was demanded earlier and she forgot. In other words, she began to detach from forms as well. Because, you see, all the attachment to forms generates the 5 poisons. And once what we try to harmonize, what we try to fulfill is try to dissolve the 5 poisons. Once you perfectly satisfy, perfectly deliver, and harmonize the situation, there's no more 5 poisons. And then as the 5 poison becomes less, the attachment to form becomes less. That's what I learned. Now she smiles at me more. Even if I'm half hour late for cooking lunch, and she will accept. She will just be silent. I mean, she said she will come and enjoy the food. In other words, to turn around someone from a disciplinarian to a kind, compassionate, loving female, it's not something that we could do, but she needs to do from the inside within. Just like Vicky and Tracy shared, it's all from within ourselves. So all we can do is provide love and compassion and understanding and get rid of ourselves, you know? Get rid of the other half cause the conflict. Once you have only one party, there's no conflict. So I would highly recommend this brutal, probably not recommended by Sifu's practice, but it is a practice. It made us constantly aware. Oh, I have an ego issue. Oh, I'm attached to that. Oh, I'm reluctant to this. Every time you're reluctant to do something, meaning you're attached to something. What is there to be reluctant about? Think about it. What is there is objection? I mean, it's all form. Whether it's a money issue, whether it's a loving issue, incident issue, whatever the issue is, it's all form. And form is all transient. Form always rise and dies. And there's no value in forms. And if we all meditate with our heart and act and live with our heart, there's nothing need to be harmonized, because oneness is harmonized. Once we reach that state of awe of that oneness, we are basically harmonized. It's the harmony practice, the fulfillment practice, is really to dissolve all the forms and all the five poisons. That's what I learned. And I learned the hard way. It took me many years. And it's a very interesting journey. I love to share this. I probably share, I don't know, 5, 6 times to everybody already. And thank you for bearing with me. Thank you.
Thank you, 金明老师。Couple of words, couple of points that 金明老師 pointed out is about detachment, and lacking out of the your character. Many years ago, I was in this relationship, and interesting enough, every time when we have a little disagreement, when I say little disagreement, this is what I'm thinking right now, but at that time, maybe it's a big issue. So I choose to be silent as go. I try to be quiet. Somehow made him more upset. He said, "You are completely ignoring me. I really don't like that." Then I try to cultivate my compassion, kind-hearted, so I have a smile on my face. Oh, that made him really, really upset. He said, "You are not just ignoring me, and really don't like to look the smile on your face. So arrogant. You think you are right." And now I think back, I say, wow. In the moment I try to creating a harmony environment by suppress myself, keep silent, understand him, listen to him, but turn out everything is showing opposite direction. I was confused. Years gone by, just like 金明老师 mentioned, detachment. It's a detached that I thought I'm creating this harmony environment and try to be peace in certain relationship. Actually, I'm still attached something because I was looking for something. I was looking for the solution. It doesn't help. It doesn't work. So now I'm putting all this feeling toward what I'm dealing right now in the current moment, instead of just facing this one relationship. I'm actually looking at my working environment. Through the pandemic, through the virtual learning, distant learning that every day I'm facing 15 students, only they have no interaction, but just the screen in front of themselves. And I'm facing dishonesty because they are so smart. We're talking about 8-year-old boy was so attentive to the lecture, but actually he's playing games. Um, so, so just by their look, and I can tell they are not really in class taking the lecture. So instead, sitting in front of the group of students, and I start to sitting behind the desk, so I can see every single one of my students' video, the screen. I don't like that feeling. I feel like I'm spying on my students. I feel like I'm waiting to prove them, say, see, you guys are cheating again. You're not in the class and not doing your homework. And I don't like that feeling. And so if I'm talking about harmony, I'm struggling myself not having that harmony feeling toward to this whole platform. So I contemplated for a long time. And lately I start to change my pattern. I know they were watching something else. I knew they were playing games behind their teacher's instructor. And I will kindly to put a little sticky note on their screen to say, give you a couple of minutes, get back to class. Or when we have a lecture, I will decide, turn off everything, just do something else. The return is all these kids, they start to receive that. They receive the understanding. They receive someone to say, finally, someone are not criticize us, not judge us, understand something that can't even describe their own. This is a good harmony environment. I can hear my students start to singing, humming, do their job more efficiently. And most importantly, they see Miss Louisa always had a smile on her face.